Hello and welcome to the Hedonistic Way at Midday Show. I am Renee Main and welcome. I was meant to be interviewing the beautiful Tash Bamblet today, but she is having internet issues. So you have me, and I am just going to share like what's alive in me and what's coming up and whatever riff I happen to go on, I will take you with me. So, um, what do I want to share, and what do I feel to talk about with you guys today? The first thing that's coming up for me is just this idea around how we have really misinterpreted what eroticism is and what the erotic body is, what erotica is. We've really we've localized it into an area, into this portal whereby we think that it is just about sex, and it's not. It is so much more than that. And I was just on a call with teaching a module for the apprentices into the work of somatic kink, and something that that we were sharing and I was talking about is how do we actually, what are we doing when we localize the perception around what the erotic body is? So what we're doing is we're actually shrinking our consciousness, and what happens when we shrink our consciousness is our nervous system contracts, right? So what happens is this gaze that we see changes in which we actually see the world. What does this mean in terms of everyday life? What does this mean towards the relationship that we have with our sexual body, our sexuality? So what it means is understanding first and foremost that our erotic body is the alignment or the misalignment between our mind, our body, and our spirit. And what we need to do is what the idea of it is to open up the idea of understanding that kink is born when the erotic body is compromised, right? So when the erotic body is compromised, what happens is it's where something is both provocative and guilt-ridden, right? It's both alluring and a little bit shameful, right? So this is what happens because it's the misunderstanding of what we perceive something to be and what it actually is. So this plays out both sexually and in our lives as well, in our everyday lives, how we show up to life. So the biggest thing is what we mistaken is we think that our sexuality or our erotic body is just about sex, and it's not. So let's talk about the difference between sexual energy versus the erotic body or versus erotica, right? Sexual energy is something that humans that we've diluted down into something that we do with someone else, something that we do to create another child, to birth another child, right? Something that we do as an expression of love, something that we do to feel better, right? So notice how this sexual energy is really very much a survival primordial instinct, right? So we've shrunk it down into essentially outsourcing. I need you to make me feel better, right? I need you to actually just build me. I want you to want me. I want you to love me. So it's this outsourcing of power, right? On the flip side of that, it's we want to create something, right? So it's very much this thing, this idealistic, this situation, this circumstances of events that I think need to happen in my life in order for me to tick all of these boxes, right? So for us to live for us to fit into the world, for us to feel a part of the world, for us to feel seen, then we think, okay, by this age I need to buy a house, by this age I need to get a job, by this age I need to have by this age I need to have children, and so we get a point into our lives where we go, I've done all of these things and these things don't matter. These things aren't feeling better for me. So then in all this, I need you to make me feel better. I need you to want me. And if you love me, then you will need to have sex with me this often, or this or this or this. So all of these conditions are thrown into what we think a relationship is, but it is none of those things, because our relationship that we have with ourselves determines the relationship that we have with other people. And so often as humans, what we do is we have this outsourcing of power where we go, okay, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I want to understand what are all of your issues. This is why our relationship's not working, because you're doing this, 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 and this. Or in a person, I need you to be this, 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 and this. But what we're doing is we're forgetting our sovereign free will, and we're forgetting our power, and we're outsourcing our power, because none of that matters until we have the relationship with ourselves, right? And we look at ourselves as a whole being. How can I show up in this world as a whole being? What does that look like? What does that feel like? We don't understand, right? So in the work that we do in terms of somatic kink, what we're doing is we're actually locating and we're discovering that relationship that we have with our mind and our bodies and our spirit, right? We're activating, we're slowing down, right? I was saying to the apprentices today is, we have this state of like the excitement is in the foreplay, right? And then the excitement is in the orgasm, but there's this space in between that is absolutely beautiful, right? And this is where the gold is. And this is something that people don't understand about what hedonism is, right? Hedonism isn't about chasing the orgasm. Hedonism is about melting into this space in between, right? What is this erotic body? We do it in life as well, right? We create the goal, we get the goal, right? This space in between is fluid and delicious and takes us on this own beautiful journey that is unique to us, but yet whereby we don't actually surrender to it. We don't bring extreme presence to it. So we're outsourcing the power and we're missing the freaking point. And this is exactly why we feel foreign in our lives. This is exactly why we keep dangling this carrot, right? This elusive carrot, this pursuit of this thing, of the next hit, right? Now, the difference is that in sexual energy, right? We want this sexual energy, and whereby it doesn't need to be about sex, right? So I really want us to begin to dismantle the construct of what we believe sexual energy is. It is more than just sex. It is more than you getting an erection. It is more than self-pleasure. It's more than masturbation. It's more than any of that. It is a life force energy, right? When we learn how to transcend and meet our eros, right? And we marry that with our psyche, we give birth to our pleasure. When we give birth to our pleasure, we need our desires and our self-worth go hand in hand, right? Our desires and our self-worth go hand in hand. This is how we evolve. We can transcend through pleasure. We can bring pleasure into all moments when we marinate and we melt into this delicious space in between, because that is where the absolute gold is. But what happens is we're so used to like this societal conditioning of going, okay, I want this thing, so therefore I need to have this thing because I feel whole, when in actuality you get that thing and you don't feel whole. You still want something else, right? You're chasing your next erection, and that is not what it's about. We need to invest in understanding what the erotic body is and coming into our alignment with our mind, body, spirit. And how do we do that? We widen our senses, we open up our reality, and we start activating the senses, right? How do we do this, right? So what we were just talking about in the apprenticeship was going, okay, slowing down, and that space in between, understanding, go on a journey with your senses, right? So what senses are really accessible to me? Like, what actually makes me feel really alive? Is it when I smell something? Is it when I hear something? Is it when I touch something? And which sense doesn't feel as easeful to me, right? So some people, for some people, touch is really important, and for other people, it's like, don't touch me, right? So when we slow down and we get to be able to create this journey through our senses, where life becomes heightened, and when life becomes heightened, when we open and widen up our senses, we open up our consciousness to live in this omnipresent, omnipotent life, right? So where we come this, it's this multi-university, that this multiverse of opportunity, right? So it's this new realm of living that really we haven't even, we're just beginning to tiptoe in now, but it has to be a felt experience. And I think this is what I think most people miss the most, miss the point the most, is that we're so focused on this goal and this end point that we really don't understand the importance of us melting into the moment, right? And understanding that when we do this, when we understand the relationship between our mind, body, spirit, and we open up our senses, we're actually opening up our consciousness. And when we open up our consciousness, these bodies are just a conduit to experience this fucking universal orgasmic experience, right? Is it orgasmic all the time? No, because we've changed our perception of what an orgasm is, right? So an orgasm isn't this end prize, it isn't this happy ending. There is no ending because we become infinite, right? But here's the thing, it can only happen in the body, right? It can only happen in the body, and it has to be a felt experience. You have to feel it, right? And in order to feel it, we need to understand that our erotic body has nothing to do with sex or our sexuality, right? So what's happening there is we bring in all of these triggers and all of these traumas and all of these perceptions around what erotic is, but erotic energy, erotica, is in everything that we touch, because it's an amplification of our senses. Life becomes a sensory journey, right? When life becomes a sensory journey, we open up our consciousness, we feel more, we expand our nervous system more, our disgust weakens, so we get to see the eyes with love. And I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like the world needs more love right now, right? We need the activation and the understanding of our erotic body, that we are more than just our sex. We are more than just this body. And it is our own shadow and our own trauma that localizes our erotic body to just meaning that it's this intercourse and this exchange that we have with someone else, but it is with ourselves first. And that is the biggest thing that we need to come home to, is no one can tell us what we want. No one can tell us what we desire. Only we can decide that for ourselves. Only we can tune in and listen to that, right? It is okay to want something, because remember, the desires and the self-worth go hand in hand. The desires are the breadcrumbs of what is going to awaken our erotic body, what is going to expand our consciousness, right? We cannot do this without desire. So desire is not this low vibrational thing that we perceive it to be. It's knowing the difference between desire and lust. Right? Lust is this pursuit, right? It's this addiction, right? And that is really the shadow side to hedonism, right? So people will go, I'm a pure hedonist, but it's not about, a hedonist is not about being in this constant pursuit of pleasure. It's being pleasure in all moments. And that is what really that we're melting into. And that is what we're beginning. We just want to open up and change the lens in which we see this, right? And so that feels really alive in that. So then we go, okay, so if I have lust, I know this lust and this is over here, which is essentially this outsourcing of power, but this innate desire, internal desire is, what do I want? What makes me feel good? What makes me feel alive? And that is the alignment between my mind, body, spirit. And that has to be an in-body experience, right? So what happens is once we understand that everything is erotic, right? So when we're born, we are born into we don't have the perceptions around what erotic is or what it isn't, right? So we come in as love, right? We so, and people give us love, like you think about babies, so we smother them in love, we smother them in affection, we breastfeed, we do all of these things, right? And then as babies get older, we begin to touch them less. We begin to bring in that psyche of going, I cannot have this relationship with my child because it is wrong, or I need to have less touch, or I can't touch them in this way and this way. So it begins this warped perception of what it is. And this is why abuse happens. This is why incest happens. This is why unconsensual, sexual assaults happen, right? This is why we don't have the capacity to share this erotic beauty, and people will go, oh, I just, I want to see this part of you, or I get off when I see this part of you, or show me more of this. And they have these erotic fantasies. Why? Because we are longing for a deeper connection, and we think that it's sexual, but it's not. And that is the biggest thing that we want, right? So in that, I just really invite you to open up to go, what is deeper than that, right? What am I actually craving, right? So what do I think is turning me on, and why? What is underneath that thread, right? Because it's not just about getting off on this thing, right? And it's about just widening your experience to going, actually, what am I craving right now? Am I craving just a heart connection conversation, right? Do I just need a hug? Do I just need to be held? Like, I'm actually feeling a little bit vulnerable right now. So maybe I just need to be seen. Maybe I just need to be witnessed. So what is it? What is it that's deeper than that? So let's just open up to the idea of stopping ourselves from shrinking and making eros and making erotica, making it about sex, right? Making it about an exchange that happens with someone else, right? Because ultimately, why do we desire that? Why do we lust over that? Is because we have an unhealthy obsession, because we want to feel happiness. We want someone else to want us, right? So we want to hit. So we just want this quick fix. And then we go, okay, right. So that's, for example, that's the role that porn does, right? Is that I just want this quick hit, and then I want to release, right? But then what happens is you go, okay, that felt really good, and I really want that again. So this quick fix, right? But it's coming from this localized, this tunnel vision of what is available to us, because we don't have the capacity and the nervous system to hold more, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of what is available to us? So we get to be able to go, okay, let's just melt into that a little bit more. What is that sexual energy? What is beyond that and going, okay, so what happens is when we bring in the erotic body, the connection between mind, body, spirit, that peak state can last for days and days and days, right? It leaves us in a state of absolute bliss and relaxation for days and days and days. So any exchange where you feel tired and exhausted after it, then that is us locating that localizing that sexual energy and not embracing our erotica, right? So the erotica is bringing us to a state of mind, body, spirit, opening up our consciousness, relaxation and bliss that lasts days and days and days and days and days. This can be a sexual act, or it doesn't have to be a sexual act. This again is what we misinterpret it to be, right? There's a real misinterpretation around what it is and what it isn't. And that's with so much shame and guilt and everything that's tied into this, you know. So we were saying, you know, earlier is like, what are the two biggest things? Like the two biggest shameful guilt that carry the most amount of charge is sex and money, right? And this happens for a reason. Like this is for a reason. But what we're doing is because there's in ourselves, in our body, at a cellular level, our body remembers that we are one, right? And so our bodies are just basically guiding us through this life because we actually just remember that we're one, and we're wanting to, like, okay, we're chasing this idea of oneness, right? But it's looking crazy and interconnected and messy and chaotic and sometimes really ugly, sometimes really painful. But ultimately, what we're actually craving is to come home to ourselves. And when we come home to ourselves, imagine what happens when someone else comes into our awareness, someone else comes into our field. Life looks very differently. Our exchanges look very differently. We actually see each other. We respect each other. We hear each other. There's no judgment. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, right? The world will change when we change the gaze in which we see our own erotic body. And understanding this. This is big work. It's important work. And one that really does change the way we show up to life in everyday moments, right? This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. You know, so something that, you know, that we can really do now is to go, okay, notice in life where is depleting us, right? Where is sucking out my energy, right? Because often we crave this, you know, so we want to feel aroused or we want to feel this thing, right? And yet when we show up to it, like a lot of people say, I'm lacking libido, I've got no desire, like it's, you know, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. But it's not from not wanting it. It's from understanding that there's so many things in our lives that are depleting our energy, that are zapping our energy. So it's actually, so what's turning you off? What's turning you off sex? And you write the list, and I guarantee you it has nothing to do with sex, right? And so versus going, okay, there's so many things in my life that's really depleting me. What do I need to do so I'm fully charged around this? So I present myself in a greater peace, a greater awareness, a greater respect for all things, right? So what is fueling me? What in my life is fueling me and giving my and you know, multiplying my energy, and what is not, right? What feels really good for me and what doesn't in our lives, right? So then we get to look at our lives differently to go, okay, what can we just not do? What do we need less of? What do we have to do? But what presence can we bring around it? So we get to bring our eros into everyday moments. We get to bring our pleasure into everyday moments. And this is a beautiful thing. This is a powerful thing. This is a life-changing, a life-altering thing where life really does begin to look very, very differently. So that is my riff for you today. I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to know your journey with it. I would love to know where you're at and what really landed for you. Yeah, it's feeling very alive. It's feeling very important in the work that we do right now. And especially, I was saying to the interns yesterday, it's time to double down, dominatrix. Like, it's time to double down, and we need to be able to really own this work, to be in this space, to bring pleasure into all moments, to transcend through pleasure, because the more we do it for ourselves, the more we create the space for other people to do that. And we need to do this. We need this right now. The world needs this right now. So I give my absolute love to you and where you're at, and I'm sending you so much love, and just inviting you to just go, okay, like, where in my life where am I getting depleted? What is filling me up? And how can I actually just reframe this perception around what my eros is, around what my erotic body is? Yeah. How can I actually open this up? And what do I need to do to meet my own trauma, or to meet my own shadow in this, right? And then if you need help and support in that, then please reach out, because that is what the somatic kink sessions are all about. So we get to be able to transmute all of this. So if you do feel like you need help with this exploration, please reach out. I'm more than happy to serve that, and we can begin that conversation. So that is me, over and out for this week. Next week, I am back on the show with an epic guest that will absolutely blow your mind. She is she oozes fierceness and what is real and what is not, and she's showing up in a really cool way. So I can't wait to introduce you to her. But for now, so much love to you, and let me know where you're at and what's happening for you, and just the invitation to come back to yourself, come back to your body, come back to your pleasure, and know that your desires and your self-worth go hand in hand, and that matters. Okay. See you next week, guys. Bye.